Welcome back to Box 2, myself, Jamie Jones-Buchanan, talking about myself in the third person in partnership with Best Western Hotels GB, who want you to know that you can find the very best deals by booking direct with them online at bestwestern.co.uk in the knowledge that you'll be supporting local independent hotels. Now, talking about local independent hotels, we've got local lad and former teammate, Ash Handley, going into your testimonial year. Does that make you feel old knowing that you're a former teammate of mine and coming up onto your 10-year testimonial?
Yeah, it does a little bit. It does a little bit, actually. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. It's been sort of been hanging over me, I feel like, a little bit, just waiting for it to come round. I was actually going to be able to have it last year, but I sort of moved aside for Dono to have his. So Dono had his last year, so I'm having it this year, which is great. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to get stuck in. Been a little bit stressful, getting things in place like it is. It's getting used to it and the sort of workload that comes with it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. Can't wait to get stuck in with it.
Mate, and starting off with the bang as well. Firstly, the selflessness. Great characters. Stand aside for Dono to get his, to earn a few quid, knowing that you can get at it this year. And mate, what an opportunity as well. Wigan, 26th of January, just come off at back of what they've done. 4 trophies there, as good as any Wigan team in the modern era. And also, when you think about 10 years in 2025 since the 2015 treble against Wigan in the grand final, it's a great fixture to have.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost like a full circle moment, isn't it? But playing against Wigan, like you say, the benchmark out there. So one, we want to challenge ourselves against them, so it'll be a competitive game. I'm sure we'll have, a full strength side out, and that'll be sort of our biggest pre-season game before the season starts. So we'll all be raring to go. And like you say, they've won everything this year, so hopefully they can bring a good crowd down, and we'll bring a good crowd, and other fans will come down and support. So yeah, it'll be a good day. Hopefully not too emotional, but yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting stuck in with it.
We'll chat about your memories of 2015 and coming through in those early years with that old sort of golden generation, as it gets referred to. But let's fire through some great events that anybody can get involved in. You've got an event at Roxy Ball Room. You've got your Christmas dinner. You've got a brand. Tell us about your brand, how you come about that. You've got a shirt coming up, the design. Always interesting how people come up with the designs. What's going on?
Yes, so we have got, first of all, the Roxy calendar launch. So the calendar is going to launch at the Roxy's night. It's almost like a games night. So a bit like a carousel format. So people can come, you buy a ticket, you get a drinks voucher on arrival. And it's a carousel style with the games. So you'll play, some of the lads are going to come down who was in the calendar, play some games like the basketball, the pool. There's going to be a massive leaderboard, and then the winner will get some prizes on the end of it. You're going to get a few vouchers for drinks as the night goes on. Yeah, I think it'll be a good night. And then it's, because we did the calendar at Roxy's, the shots have been at Roxy's, so it's a bit of a fun vibe. We're going to launch the calendar there as well, so people can get the calendar there, and the lads will be there to sign it all and whatever. So looking forward to it. It'll be a good night, yeah.
It'd be awesome. Matt Jones, Ben Jones smashing it with Roxy's and Kingpin as well. Great fellas, good supporters.
Yeah.
Tell us about the calendar, because in the past they've been interesting, haven't they, lads? Getting quite fleshy and naked. Are you going with a different tact? Are you going to get people doing hobbies like knitting, sewing, fishing, gardening, or are you going down the same line?
We're going a little bit. We're going less explicit, I'd say. We've partnered up with Oddballs with their boxers, so the lads are going to be wearing them in the calendar, and then we've just got shots of them around the Roxy venues playing games, table tennis, pool, basketball, everything like that. And then just kind of like an 80s vibe, sort of. Going along with like what the Roxys look like. So yeah, that's sort of the style, a bit less, like I say, explicit, and just a bit more fun, really.
I like it, collaboration, raising money and awareness for charity. What a great collaboration that is. Oddballs as well. Christmas dinner, I remember my testimonial Christmas dinner, one of my heroes, Ellery Handley, gave me his first Challenge Cup winners medal.
Wow.
Which is crazy because a lot of my mates were there as well, and I feared for my safety going on. That's like giving me 50 grand cash in a see-through bag, giving me his medal.
Yeah.
I've still got it buzzing. I love Christmas. My missus has started putting some Christmas decorations up already because we missed it last year. Chris Clarkson took forever with an extension new building.
Right.
We only got about 4 days to put his decorations up. So what does that look like for you, your Christmas dinner?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's we do it every year, don't we? So it's laid out pretty similar to what we've done before, but it's almost just like getting family and friends together, getting the lads together, and just sort of a celebration of me, I suppose, as a player and the club as a whole, getting people together. And then we're going to do a bit of an auction at the end of it, of like things that hopefully prizes that money can't sort of buy. So some quite unique auction prizes, and hopefully they'll go down pretty well. Yeah.
Any gifts? You're going to give away? Maybe we can entice him now. I've not taken this up, but you've got a shirt coming as well.
Yeah, we've got a shirt coming. Yeah.
So a bit. I don't know if there's a.
I know. I obviously support Aston Villa, but we've almost gone down the Leeds United route a little bit. So you can. You and your lads can buy one if you want.
Mate, marching on together.
Yeah, so,
that.
Yeah, it's a bit of like a football style jersey actually. Yeah. And we've got a lot of support. The sponsors have been great, and it looks class actually. Looking forward to that coming out, and we're obviously going to wear that in my game. So, yeah, we've just had that done with Oxen ticked off, so that'll come around January time, and we can start promoting that hopefully.
You mentioned Aston Villa there. What planet are you on? How did that come about?
Oh, mate. My dad supported him at school, and I think they must have been good at school, so it's almost like a glory supporting team, and then he just stuck with it and got us kids to support him as well. So I've always supported them.
Wow, it does as well. It comes when we used to have football days on Monday, football Mondays. It come in his Aston Villa kit. What's going on here? But at least it breaks it up, I suppose. You've got an interesting logo, mate. I really like that. How did that manifest itself?
So I wanted to do something a little bit different. And Kieran Brady at Red Centric, I was just chatting to him at, must have been one of the games, and he said, "Oh, why don't we? I'll put you in touch with someone, and we can have a chat about your logo." And he mentioned, if you ever do something in the future of like brand stuff, or if you ever want to use it in the future, you don't want it to be sort of tied to, because I know some that have been done in the past it's like a testimonial logo, and then it's not really, you can't really use it for anything else. So yeah. If we ever use it or need to use it for anything going forward, then almost like maybe a little bit standalone. You don't really, it's not tied to, like say, rugby or sport or anything. It could be used in different avenues. So I got chatting with him, and then he linked me up with someone a designer of his company has been great for us. And then his missus. So I was actually going to do AH5.
Right.
And then his missus suggested, why don't you change the S to a 5, and it looked class, so we've gone with that.
Of course he has. Numerical. It's like Hebrew, mate. How good's that?
That's it. And
he's turning you into a brand. Is Mrs. Karen.
Yeah,
is
Karen,
in the creative world. She into art and drama.
Yeah.
A little bit like myself. I see the world in pictures. And that's great. And I'm really glad that you've got that opportunity to sort of reflect on your career, crystallise it down into a critical mass and really enjoy it, because it's been fascinating. It's been good, and we're going to chat a little bit about that as well. I remember my first testimonial in 2009. It was a great opportunity to reflect on some of the people that had helped me get there as well, because quite cantankerous as a player, always looking that way, trying to achieve the next big win, the next big goal. But actually, that's a good time to go. Do you know what? Had it not been for the good, creative opportunity given to me, I wouldn't have even got here.
Yeah.
So just thinking back, I wanted to chat to you about some of your teammates who you've played with and reflected. Who's been, let's start with on the field, who's been sort of one of the players that's helped you to get where you are?
Wow. It's a difficult question. I suppose we've just mentioned it off camera, haven't we? But I think when I look back, I probably will think Sutty, really. He's obviously one of my best mates, and we sort of went through the journey together. He came in a little bit before me, maybe a year or so before me, but when you don't have that many friends in the group or whatever, or you're just coming through and there's always someone to lean on, sort of, we were sort of shoulder to shoulder going through it together sort of thing. And, we went through it until 2022, so nearly 8-9 years together. And you just got someone to talk to, confide in maybe. So yeah, I'd say so. I've obviously, like you say, I'm getting old. I actually looked at the, like we've got that thing at Kirkstall where you got players' names who've trained here, and
Yeah.
there must have been like 100 players gone past now from when I first got my number. So many people come in and out, and obviously the players who were there before me, who I've played with, like you and Kev Maggs and all them. So it's hard to nail down who's had an influential sort of impact on my career, but I would definitely say that Sutty's helped me get to where I am.
Mate, Liam Sutcliffe, I seen him come through. I was coaching in scholarship when he was a junior. He'd been about 15. Right across the board, had talent.
Yeah.
Had that bit of pace, had the vision, the skill, the kick, the pass, play full-back centre. He didn't like it in back row. He played for England in back row, didn't like it. But when he played well, you played well. When you played well, he played well. And you could see there was a symbiosis there, like a couple of Sif Lords.
Yeah.
Did you miss him when he went? And how did you deal with that, if you did?
Do you know what it was? Just on that, with like when you're playing well, it wasn't like he was, oh, come on, Ash, we need to do this. Or it's just fun, when you're playing with your mate, and you're just like, I remember when we first started, and I scored my first hat trick against Saints, and he kicked the ball over to us, and I scored. And you're just like, how good is this? You're just playing with your mate, playing Super League. It's not like it didn't feel too serious then. We were just having a laugh, and how good was that? That sort of sticks with me, rather than like pushing me on to be the best version of me, which other people would do. He's just there as your mate. You probably enjoy having a beer with him more than all else, but you're also doing your day-to-day job with him. I suppose when he left, he didn't like leave my life, because I still see him outside of rugby, so it's not like I missed him, because I was still knocking about with him and all that. But it is weird that he's not there. And it's just different. It's just different. Like I said before, a lot of people are not there anymore, so it just like it is in sport, and the turnover of players. People come and go, don't they? And I suppose that's just part of sport. It's sad. I remember us both hugging each other in that grand final, crying, because we knew that was the last day we'd play together. But same as when Reece goes and Dono's gone. Reece and Dono were a massive part of my career as well, and they've just left, so it's going to be weird without them too as well.
I always think about that. The people that leave, they leave a connection as well, and it always affects people around them. But it is, as you say, part of sport. 144 different players, I sort of calculated. Wow. You talk about a generation, it's not the same 17 players for 10 years. But that's all part of that dynamic. There's also been some moments in your life, and obviously some really special players. Winning the Challenge Cup final in an empty Wembley 2020. A dream of yours as a kid, wanted to do that for and with your parents, supported you through your young journey. What was it like playing in could you believe it? An empty stadium.
I know. Achieving
that success, a big moment, yet not being able to celebrate it with people you mean the most to you.
Yeah, it's crazy looking back now that we all did that and nobody were there. Like, you couldn't imagine it, but it was still special. I mean, I remember Rich Ago actually saying, like, when do you get... So obviously we'd won and everything had gone, and when do you get the opportunity to... So we had the big coach ride, obviously, back from London, because there were you didn't stay over because you weren't allowed. So we all just jumped on the coach and we were going back. But you never have that opportunity before where everyone would stay together for the 4 hours back, all having a drink together and enjoying it and celebrating it. So on the positive side, that were actually like a pretty unique thing that we all remember and cherish, sort of thing. But yeah, obviously you want... My grandma used to say one thing she wants to do is see me play at Wembley, and she had to watch it on telly, and now she's not here, so it is pretty sad, but she still saw me play there just through a screen.
Amen. Reece Martin, it makes me laugh when you say that, because I remember he kept his kit on all the way home, and we stopped at the services and still got like 22mm studs running through the services, skidding everywhere, just covered in grass stains. Outstanding. On that, afternoon off on that night as well. You remember the good friend of yours, James Brooke, sadly passed away cancer in his teens.
Yeah.
And you dedicated some of that win to him as well. Just reflect on that for me and just having the opportunity to think about people who've been a part of your past.
Yeah, it's a big deal because I don't know if you remember, but we was in the scholarship together. So we went to school together. And he was like my best mate at school. We had like a big group of us. Still got a WhatsApp group called Brookie now. We keep in touch. But we were obviously doing everything together. He was at school with me, knocking about, and then it was similar to like so it was like pass the baton on sort of thing. But yeah, we was in the scholarship together, and then he got sick, and he never got to live out his probable dream. So I sort of felt like I was carrying that on for both of us.
Mate, and it's a good opportunity to be able to recognise that as well, and reflect back. And also, interestingly, coaches. I'm always fascinated by the coaches because they're our mentors, right? And I read somewhere, I think Carl Ablett had an influence on you as a young kid. I think you said something like, "Oh, Carl Ablett was best coach or best influence," and then I spat my cup of tea all over screens. I've never spoke. He was like, "You sang language or something like that." So, if your phone's ringing, will you answer it, please, mate? He'll only answer the phone if you need a boiler off him, and you're going to spend $3,000 with him in his new plumbing business. But just reflecting on him, Brian Mack and a few others, who were some of the best coaches that influenced you?
I would say Brian Mack, not at the time because he was pretty hard on us young boys. But looking back, he's probably a lot of the foundation stuff, that you probably fall back on without realising came from him and his coaching style. So yeah, I think I actually texted Rowan when he left, just saying that a lot of, or every coach that you've had leaves sort of something on you. You take a lot from them. I think I sort of got a lot of the foundations and the base and, a bit of mentality stuff from Brian Mack. I think Rich Agar gave me a lot of confidence, like showed a lot of belief in me and gave me a chance. When he came in, sort of cemented my position in the team. And then Rowan, I thought he made us think a little bit differently, open your mind to different sort of things. So I thought I took that from him, and then I suppose I'll reflect on what happens with Brad if and when you might not be or whatever, but I'm really enjoying my time with Brad as well. So all been a little bit different, but I've taken a lot from all of them as well.
We've got to talk about the debut story with Brian McDermott. If you want to talk about tough love, right, and this is what Brian Mack was all about, and I remember at the time thinking, wow, tell us a story, debut, all excited.
Yeah.
What happened the day before we played?
So we used to train up at, obviously we do his last run at Headingley, don't we? We still do it now. And I didn't know that at the time. Because I don't even know how many sessions I must have trained with the team before I was going to play. So I drove down to Kirkstall. We weren't at Kirkstall. So someone must have told me we were up at Headingley. So walked up to Headingley. I didn't even really know where I was going. And then I saw Plumey and he was like, "What are you doing? We're going out in 25 minutes. I'm like, I didn't even know we're up here. So I've gone in change rooms, and then Mac saw me come in. Everyone else was obviously already there. And then Mac like, what are you doing? What? I didn't even speak, I don't think. I just looked at him, and he just went, "Jason, he's not playing, take him back to Kirkstall." And then that was it. And then I was like, what? So it just obviously didn't end up playing. I don't even think he said much else after that either, and I didn't ask him. So yeah, I just didn't even end up playing. And then I think we played against London like a few weeks later, and that was the worst game of rugby I think I've ever played to this day, my debut. So didn't start very well, but yeah.
So basically, Ash has turned up about 10 minutes early, and it wasn't early enough. So Brian Mack said, "You can't turn up here 10 minutes before, fella. You got all these old timers here 30 minutes before you. It's your debut. Get yourself off."
Oh yeah, I think I was too shell shocked to even hear that. I was just like sat there, go away sort of thing.
I remember like this. Oh. Yeah. But I understood it, and it wasn't just that. We could tell loads of stories with Mikolai, with Cam Smith, with some other young blokes. Baptism of fires, really, and that forges men that play a gladiatorial game. So in your career, Ash, there's been moments of adversity, moments like that, you know, where even when you've had success at Wembley, you weren't able to celebrate in the ways that you maybe have dreamed of. You know, you was part of that sort of latter end of the golden generation that won and had success in sort of 2015, 2017, were playing in and around the team, didn't quite play in some of those finals. How have you kept sort of going, right, okay, get back on the bus, go again? Because when I walk into Southdown, mate, and I see that big picture of you can see a fire of determination. I know you, so I know that's in there anyway.
Yeah.
How's that built itself and momentum over years?
I think, like you say, there's just been points that have almost, I'm not having that sort of thing. Yeah. So that Brian Mac and all that, what happened, they're sort of like, well, I'm just going to prove this guy wrong, and it's just making you push even further. There were another point, so when you say about 2017, I remember Tom won't mind me saying, you'll remember we played Hull FC in a semi-final and they bombed him to death, and Mac basically blamed the whole game on him, saying we got beat by them in the semi-final. I don't know, do you remember?
I do remember it, yeah, very well.
So after that,
Tommy.
Yeah, I said to Mac, mate, if he's had worst game, like you blame game on him, like, is there any chance I'm going to get a game? And he said to me, no matter how bad he plays, I'm still not picking you.
Right.
So I'm like, wow, I've got no chance here. So do you know what I mean? It's just like, so I'm like, right, I'm going to prove him wrong again and just keep doing that. And then the story of when I went to P&G in England and they flew me out and I didn't play. And I was like, wow, he's having my life. Do you know what I mean? And then that hour again, like, I'm not having that again. So just, there's been little points that have, like, you know, when it's hard to keep your motivation all the time, but something like that'll happen.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, I'm not having that. I'm going to go to the next level. And then we were getting, so the year before the last year, we were getting hammered and we weren't playing great. And we didn't get in the playoffs throughout. It was 23, I think.
Right.
And I was just like, I'm not having this year. Like, obviously it tailed off at the end and we didn't do anything again. But at the start of the year, I trained the house and I had all the motivation in the world. I've sacrificed a lot in my life because I thought that's given me another bit of motivation to go again, sort of thing. So I reckon all over my career, I've had like 4 or 5 moments where you need to do something about this or it's not going to go your way, sort of thing.
Time and context plays a big part, mate. But you can see that in you. Certainly that grit. I love to have spent more of my formative years playing alongside you. And even like now today, reflecting on some of the pain you've had to play with and the resilience you've shown with the wrist this year.
Yeah.
You ended up having to have an op on it, but you're making try-saving tackles, you're coming up with big plays, scoring worldy tries, and you're in agony. People don't see that side of it. But you had that desire to keep going. What was it like managing some of that this year for you?
Yeah, it's difficult. So my wrist, I'd had it for years and it would settle down, obviously, because in games you're handing people off and you're putting pressure through it, you're doing training and you're wrestling each other and all that. And then in off season, it'd settle down. So I'd be like, oh, it's all right now. So I'm training fine, wrestling all good. First sort of few games go by, I'm like, this is fine. I'm glad I didn't get it done because I was going to get it done the off season before, and I just left it. So I didn't even need it doing. And then you'd hand a few people off, and I'm like, oh, that's not great. And then I'd come in after a game, and I couldn't hardly train. So it just all piles up. So you're not training properly through the week, and then you're not doing as much as you probably should be doing. And then you're going into a game and you can't use it. Like some games, I wasn't even using my arm. I'd just like, I couldn't hand off or anything. That last game I played at Magic Weekend, I hate needles. Like, I can't take them. And I had, what's it called, local anaesthetic.
Yeah.
Just so I could play, because I knew it was going to be my last game anyway. And it was actually great. It worked great. So I was fine. But I couldn't do that we had 10 more games at that point, I think, and there was just no way I could keep doing it. And you'll know, there's no good time to have an operation. Like, I missed the back end of the year last year, but if I waited till the end of the season, and missed all of pre-season, then that's not good either. I could have potentially missed my testimonial game as well. So I had to get it done. But it was tough. It was tough to make the decision because at that point the season were maybe still in the balance and we were a chance of doing something. And you have the optimism, don't you, all the time? And we've got a little bit of, and I've got a little bit of hope from what we've always done before, sort of thing. So we were like, if we sneak in, anything can happen. But we didn't manage to do that.
Well, I understand, and it's better now. So if I could, people ask me all the time, if you could give yourself, younger self, a bit of advice, what would it be? And it'd be to do what you did, to take a bit more care. Yeah. I mean, I look at my wrist now. That's I've got no flexibility in this at all. Yeah. And I got to that point, about your age, maybe a bit older, where surgeon's like, you've got two choices. You can take bone out, and it'll dislocate all the time. It's no good. Or you confuse it, so it's stuck there. I'm like, what good's that?
Yeah.
So I've got no choice, basically. Yeah, no. You've got to carry on, strap it up, anaesthetic, cortisone's draining it, or whatever, your knees are exactly the same. It's horrendous, but you tend to find a way. You found a way, and you got the Rob Burrow Player of the Year award for the Leeds Rhinos end of the season. And having played with Rob, I'm played through that sort of pain, come up with some really glamorous, gold, hard moments this year. What did that feel like to get recognised, inside of that adversity not long after your operation?
Yeah, it were unreal, to be fair. I never expected it because obviously I wasn't playing for 10, 12 games at the end of the year, so I never expected it. But it was almost like, I can't remember who was speaking now, but the words that have obviously been passed on from coaches and whatever who have picked it, and just to be recognised for how much you sort of care about the team and what you're doing and trying to make the place better, sort of thing. And I was pretty overwhelmed, to be fair. Obviously that Jeff was the one presenting it and what it means to all of us that it was the Rob Burrow Award, and to be the first person to win that, like, nobody can take that away from me, can they? So hopefully, I said this before, that maybe in 30 years' time I can be invited back and present it to the next person who wins it, because I'm the first ever person to win that award. It's really special.
Love that. Yeah. How good's that? Let's try and make that happen. Make it a thing. Yeah. Absolutely. In his honour and legacy, 19 games, 14 tries, 309 carries, 2,794 metres, an average of 9 metres per carry. It's a big year, and we'll talk about where that's going to go and some of your international opportunities and experiences. Not enough in my mind. But reflecting on, and when I say not enough, like there should be more, should have been more. That one where you flowed out, for example, is a great example. But some of those tries early on this season, all KR won. Crofts kicked it over, caught that, and then I think it was one against Salford where you're going, woo! You mentioned, I'm getting back up. You can see I'm representing today, by the way, as well. I love this darker kit. It's right up my street. But you're thinking, Ash is looking good here. On form, Zenith, like maybe he's in prime. You made some sacrifices, though. You mentioned the word sacrifice. Charlie Venables, I know you do a little bit with your nutrition. Josh Taylor, some people investing time and energy into you being best physical version of yourself. How was you in terms of where you've ever been at in a career at the start of the season?
Yeah, I think that were like the peak sort of how I've ever been in terms of everything. Like, I was just on everything that you could possibly be on. Like, mentality was like untouchable. Training hard. I felt fit, fresh, nutrition, like everything was taken care of to the point where I'd walk on the pitch and I knew I was ready to play, sort of thing. I didn't have to worry about anything. Like, I've done everything possible to be ready to play.
Yes.
I stopped drinking at the time, which I probably will do again. I'll just go into, what it's like when you're playing and you go into like these, when pre-season comes around, you sort of tighten up everything. And I almost try and see pre-season as like a boxing camp, and you've got 2 or 3 months to get yourself in the best shape possible to have a base for when you tailor off as much training as you do in pre-season, and you've got to play every week. Then you sort of fall back on what you've got. So if you don't have a good pre-season, you're going to struggle making it back up in the year. But everything I was doing were just to make sure I was the best version I could possibly be on the field, and it showed. I remember talking to myself because I was doing that meditation thing, and I was still doing it at the end of the year. Probably not as clear. I don't think my mind was as clear towards the back end. Like I couldn't focus as much as I could at the start. So like my mind would go clear, and I'd just think about what's going to happen, and it happened. It was weird. But it would just, I don't know, I couldn't even explain to you. But then when I come off like that Salford game, we got the Hull KR game, we got beat, but I played pretty well. I obviously scored that try, and I'm like, I hope I can play well again next week. Like, can it keep going as well as this? And it just did, and it did. It was like 7 or 8 games until I did my rib. And I was just like, how is it still? Do you know? It just kept going and going, and I was sort of doubting myself maybe, like talking to myself like, how can it get better than this? Can it get better than this? And then it just kept happening. Like then that league game happened, didn't it? When we were 20-odd-0 down, and I remember at one point in the game, come on, Ash, you need to come up with something here. And then I scored 2 tries and we ended up winning. And I'm like, what's going on? Sort of thing. Weird.
I could spend next hour talking just on that flow state, like being in the zone, peak performance. Like I think there's something in that, and a lot of it is in between your ears, by the way. I believe you've just mentioned there, and you're asking those questions because it's hard to quantify and put your finger on. It's almost intangible. It's difficult to explain, but it fascinates me. And it's great to see that you're in that sort of peak and leading by example as well, because it's contagious. People say, wow, Ash is doing X, Y, Z, diet, nutrition, training, mentality, preparation. So therefore, they go, I want to be like that as well. And they start emulating it. Yeah. That's leadership. No, sometimes it's not always what you say. It's just leading by example. So if we can, because we haven't got time to go into that, and we will do another one, maybe just me and you, because I'm still learning. Leadership and Cam Smith, the partnership there, the symbiosis that you two had in terms of being leaders around that team, you get on well. How have you found that? Because I know you two are the players that other players and coaches look to be the guys leading the tribe.
It's been good. It's obviously difficult, and like it's hard to, like you say. I reckon I'm probably the leader by example. Like one, I'm a winger, so I'm not in a dominating position on the field. It's funny, I spoke to Harriet's dad, Graham Ford. You know Graham, don't you? Yeah. And you see a lot of things on social media about talking about Cam, about his leadership style, and is he not a leader? Is he this? And I said to him, like, what do people want Cam to do? If people in the stands, south stand, because you can't hear what they're saying. Yeah. If you saw Cam in the middle wagging his finger at everyone, would you be like, what a good leader, right leader? He could be saying anything and you don't have a clue what he's saying, but his body language is, you don't know what he does all the time. You're watching us for 80 minutes of a week, and we've got 10,000 more minutes of the week to be a leader in whatever way he's a leader. I think we complement each other quite well because, like you say, I'd lead by example and try and get people doing the right things away from the game, but around training and all that sort of stuff. And then Cam's the leader on the field. But Cam's learning as well. He's learning his way. He's a young lad still. He's not gonna nail it. I spoke to someone, I can't remember who it was now, but it might have been Phil Daly on about when Kev first started and when he was captain, and Kev wasn't the best captain in the world when he first took over. But everyone raves about what he's like now, which rightly so, by the way. He was obviously one of the best captains, or if not the best. But it's hard to say, because if you said to someone, what's a good captain, how do you sum that up in a sentence or an explanation for someone to be deemed a good captain? So I do feel like Cam is learning on the go, and he's not going to get it right every time, and nobody knows what right is either. So before everyone's pointing the finger at him, let's give him a chance and see what He does, and he doesn't control the outcome of games either. Like if the team's losing, it's not Cam's fault. He's just playing. He's playing as well as he can for the team. He cares silly amounts, like as much as me, as much as anyone, as much as you. He cares so much. He's not. I don't know where I'm going with it, sort of thing. But he's just. He cares that much about the team. He wants us to win. He wants us to do well. And I thought, you just want people to get behind him, support him, give him a chance.
Yeah. And it can become a parachute when people don't, in the sense that it can slow you down, weigh you down. And who says what, when, in what context is king and relevant. So, really quick segue of an example. I was speaking to a guy recently about all the different sectors that I spend time working with, and how it's really important to speak a slightly different language depending on who you're with. Can be with third sector charities, private, local authority, criminal justice system. All have got nuanced ideas around what they want to do, where they want to go. And he was an academic, this fella, and he was from Pretoria in South Africa. And he said to me, I'm a doctor, right, qualified GP, and if I go into some of my communities and ask them to wash their hands, because there's a lot of illness going around, about a third of them will listen. If he asks a local priest to come and ask him, right, they'll all do it.
Wow.
Because they see it as like a spiritual cleansing, and that's just the way that they see the world. If you was to ask the same question in the UK, it might be opposite way around, by the way. So it's not what they're saying, whether it's right or wrong, it's just context.
Yeah.
Different people. And I remember having this conversation with Cruz Lehman when he had a period in charge. He was very different as well. He was like, get up in your face, let's have it. Very dogmatic, and sometimes you get that up in the moment. His emotions are all, and they're like, Cruz, got to make everybody believe here that we know what we're doing, where we're going. And you see him now playing well in his own way at Wigan, and always constantly reflecting on what he's doing. And it's just different. We're all different people. I completely agree with you. And it's interesting now, actually, how that's going to present itself with some of the new characters coming in. And I wanted to ask you about positions. You're always looking over your shoulder to see who's competing for you within the position. So now there's a bit of a different dynamic. How much are you looking forward to that in 2025, and what will it bring to Rhinos?
Yeah, it's a massive year. I'm actually really looking forward to it. I'm glad that we're getting a bit of that, a bit of competition, because you need it. You need a full squad for challenging for trophies. You can't rely on a 17, and then if someone goes down, you put in, a young lad in who's got to try and fill the place of someone. So it's good. He keeps everyone accountable or puts pressure on people in certain positions. Really looking forward to it. I think it's a big year for us all.
Yeah.
We've not made the playoffs for the last 2 years, so we want to be in them playoffs at least. And then we want to go on and try and win something. I think, Brad's on a 1-year contract, and he'll want to be winning something as well. So it's a massive year for us. And
characters within that. So I know you're a calming effect on, and again, this is a bit of contextual, of a contextual dynamic. In Harry Newman is a guy who likes to spill over with emotion at times. You've got Jake Connor. I talked to him here in box 2 about this potential and steering that in the right way. Just tell us about your relationship with Harry, and sometimes when you've had to either put an arm around him or, I don't know, a stronger arm around,
strangling
round neck.
I love Harry. He's just a big kid in him, but he's, some of the things he says, I don't think he's ever wrong. He just says it in the wrong way. So He wants the best. He wants to win. He's so competitive. And just the way he delivers his message, like I'll say to him, mate, you're right in what you're saying, but you can't say it like that. And you can't, it's not a pantomime, we're all together. He'll be stood behind us all, throwing his arms up, so the fans can see him carrying on. But he cares a lot as well.
Yeah.
And he wants to do what he trains the house down. He's so professional. And he wants us to do well in a different way to probably how me and Cam care, sort of thing. But he wants the team to do well. He wants to win trophies. His just delivery sometimes can be a bit of miss. But you touched on Jake there as well. Everyone's got this opinion of Jake, and I suppose first impressions are a massive thing, aren't they? And when I went on that GB thing, and it was like my first time in the men's first team England, GB, whatever squads. I didn't really know anyone at the time. I don't think anyone from Leeds was on it. So I was pretty much going there on my own. And Jake actually reached out to me and said, "Why don't you travel over with us, Huddersfield boys?" So I jumped in with them going over, and I thought, you don't really know me, don't know anything about me, and he's made me feel a bit included. And ever since then, if I've ever seen him, we've been in camps together after that Nines World Cup, and I knocked about with him a little bit, and I actually really get along with Jake. He can be a bit, people have got this opinion of him, and he can be a bit opinionated and whatever, but I think if we get the best out of him, he can be really good for us. He's a really nice lad. He's a good lad. He just can be a bit funny on the pitch, can't he, sometimes, but I think he'll be good for us if Brad can get the best out of him.
Oh, mate, you can get the best out of him. The potential in there, world class.
Yeah,
brilliant. Could have some great nights. You mentioned international there. Let's touch on that then before we wrap up. Talk to me about your international career. Went to PNG in, I think, 2018. So you sort of having those early steps in international arena. And then you've had one cap, I think. Is it one?
Two now.
Two,
yeah.
So when you reflect on that, Harry's obviously there now. Where is your mind space at that? Is it still an aspiration for you?
Yeah, it is. I've been a little bit unfortunate with the GB thing. Was obviously tough. And then I played the mid-season one that time when I got the hat-trick when I spoke to you, I think. That was not last year, not this year, just gone the year before. And then I was booked in for an operation on my wrist, so I couldn't do the Tonga one.
Got you.
And I spoke to Wayne about it, and I was gutted that I was missing that, and I never ended up getting the operation because of the timings of it and all that. And then obviously same again, so I've played the France International mid-season again, and I've had to have another operation, so I just keep, unfortunately, it's how it's been going, that I haven't been fit enough to play back end of the year, so I'm still hungry to try and get on one of them. I know the World Cup is 2026 and there's an Ashes series next year, isn't there? So I'd love to be on that. We'll just have to see what happens.
Keep going, keep sticking with it, persevering. I think it was George Williams actually. He was at World. I know he fed you a few balls. You got your tries. I remember talking about when you play international rugby league, the best thing about it for me is playing with different players. Don't always realise how good they are till you play alongside them. Who was somebody who maybe you enjoyed playing with in your international time?
Yeah, definitely George. It's just like a wink and a nod sort of thing. Like you're not even really talking to you, he's just going to put it there for you. And then I think he gave me 3 and I gave him 3 in that game. So every time I maybe broke down the wing, he was always there in support sort of thing. So yeah, I played with him in academy level England as well. So I've known him a little while.
Right.
But yeah, it's really, like you say, you don't realise how good players are until you're with them every week.
So next year, what does Ace look like? Like for you, and there's this milestone. There's a wallpaper of ex-players at Kirkstall.
Yeah.
Right, 200 games. I think you're a few games off that.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's another milestone. What does, let's go 10 out of 10 look like in 12 months? And bearing in mind it's testimonial year for Ash Handley, it could be a big one, couldn't it?
Yeah, firstly, I'd want a really successful testimonial. There's a few big events coming like before the season starts, so hopefully they go really well. And then events through the year. That's a massive goal of mine because there's not many players on the Kirkstall wall, is there? I think I'm 7 games off that, so should be this year as well, which will be great. It's 200 Super League games for Leeds, isn't it? That's how you get on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to be on there, and then we want some silverware this year, don't we? We want to get definitely playoffs, but Challenge Cup or Grand Final, I think that's where we need to be for it to be a good year. If we got both, then I suppose that'll be a 10 out of 10, wouldn't it?
Hey, come on, keep going. Yeah, love it.
But yeah, just want a successful year, and everyone pushing towards sort of having a bit of direction with the team and knowing where it's going. And we sort of did have that when we got to the 2022 grand final, we were a bit of direction. We were like, I think we went quarters, semis, and then might have gone final the year after. So, you know, if you're always working towards something, you've got something like that going, I think you can buy in a lot easier. So we want to be up there, mate. It's a massive year next year.
Mate, the smallest things make biggest difference. Like, and you'd have been in those meetings in 2015, nearly 10 years ago, when Brian Matt were talking about, if we do this and we do that, we could do everything here, but it's going to be by the smallest of margins. I won't repeat the phrase that he used, but it was right. And when you reflect on what happened behind the scenes, mate, it could have fallen apart. The house of cards could have come crashing down on a multitude of occasions. Luck went our way that year, and it was unbelievable. It's never a million miles off. So just to reflect, let's give everybody a bit of an insight into the Ash Handley that we don't see outside of that 80 minutes, the other 10,000 minutes. Any books? You look to me, well, you seem to me with conversations we have like somebody who's always searching in deep reflections to how you can get better. Any books you've been reading, or any bits of wisdom that you've come across recently?
I was still reading a little bit. I just picked up that Green Lights book.
Matthew McConaughey.
I only just started it, but I've just got into that now. I'm going to pick it back up. I've just been listening to James Smith as well on the Without Limits. That's it. And it's just, he just has the actual podcast just has loads of like successful people in different backgrounds, different areas, and what they do in their life to be successful. And I think a lot of people are like that. They're trying to pick up little bits where they can get better and, you know, apply it to their life. So just that, really, just on if there's anything new that I think is relevant to my life, I'll pick up. For instance, it's a little bit different, but I saw a case study being done, because I'm all in or all out in my life. So for when I didn't drink, I won't go anywhere near it, and that's probably not healthy either, because at some points in your life, to be happy, to be social occasions, you need to be able to relax a little bit, and you know that you're not going to go to hell if you have a beer, one beer. But I saw, so I think it was like 0.4 grams of alcohol to kg of body weight.
Yeah.
So it worked out about 2 pints you can have that won't affect your sleep or your recovery or anything. You know, like alcohol obviously affects everything.
Yeah.
I think if you were like an 85 kg person, you were allowed to have 2 pints.
Right.
So if I were going to let my hair down, I'm going to allow myself to have 2 pints. So I'm not going off track.
Making it last.
Yeah, dragging it out
Put a bit of water in it.
Yeah, just to have some sanity, I think. But because if I don't, I'll go the one extreme and I won't relax at all, and I'll go stupid and then fall off the cliff, sort of thing. So I need to get a bit of balance, I reckon. Yeah,
balance. Interestingly, it's interesting that, mate, because that is a dichotomy. That is a contrast, because balance is like an average as well. And the last thing I'd want to be back in my days, average. Ironically, I was talking about being consistently average. But yeah, I don't think there's necessarily wrong with a lot of extremes. I mean, the other one, you mentioned Matthew McConaughey there. The thing that stuck out with me with that book is, he said, we're often good at what we love, but we don't always love what we're good at, which is interesting. Because you can be great at something. I won't name player, but there was one player who played at club, and he was really good, talented. He just not bothered. I don't think he liked rugby. just played. And the other thing as well was like staying true. There was a point where he got typecast as being this rom-com actor, and actually goes, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be something else. I've got a bit more in me. Yeah. And nobody gave him the opportunity. But when it come, he smashed it. And therein lies the other one. You know, when you talk about success in life, the podcast, I'm not so sure that luck doesn't play at least 50% of it. I think the other 50% is just being prepared when luck presents itself. When we meet that opportunity. So what do you like to do, Ash, in your spare time? And being a dad now, so you're looking after other lads, that sort of paternal influence, being a dad and then coming to work and having to support and guide other young men, has it helped you to grow being a dad?
Yeah, I think got a lot more patience as a dad.
Yeah.
But he just like he don't bother me. Like I don't get stressed out with him or anything. Like all the hard stuff, I'll do it. Do you know?
Yeah.
I love it. When I'm stressed out at other things, rugby, testimonial, anything, and you just want to relax, and he's forcing me to stand off at the sofa and play ball with him, I'll do it all day because he puts a smile on your face, you know. So I really enjoy being a dad. It's great. Other things I'm into, other than training, because I'm always training, because I'll go insane if I don't. I just started playing paddle, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm on paddle. So last night I went down with one of my mates, played paddle. We got hoodwinked a little bit because the guy we're playing against were a big fella, and I thought we're going to beat this guy. And he was like an ex-tennis player, and he absolutely battered us. So I'm hooked on paddle now. I'm going to go down every week, I think.
Did you get schooled? So I've not played paddle yet. Everybody's banging on about it. Apparently you need 4 players. Pick your paddle dream team. If you and listen, I might not have even played it, but if you had to take 3 other lads or girls to play paddle, who would it be?
Right. So I reckon I'd go Cal Watkins has just sprung in my head just because of how good he were on his feet.
Cal Watkins,
Yeah.
love it.
Just
Paddle
comes straight
dream
into
team.
my head, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Jack Walker as well, actually, for a bit of stepping. And I think you need agility to play paddle. So
Jack Walker, former Ulton.
yeah, he's
Bolton
got a
Raider.
bit. Yeah. Who else? Who else do I know?
Wacker,
Who's any good?
Callum, 2 ex-Rhinos players.
Shall I
One
go
more.
another Rhinos player? Shall I go you for a bit of stamina? Need a bit of stamina.
I love it. I didn't
Get you
expect
in
that.
there.
I hadn't teed him up either.
Yeah. I'll go you as well.
A bit of front.
Competitive as well.
competitive,
So,
mate, yeah. Kick, fight, bite, school,
Yeah.
cry,
Any way to win.
and
Yeah.
then try again. So, mate, what about that as a testimonial event? Your dream team.
That's a right shout.
Get some. I have to get some bandages from my knees. Get my knees nice and greased up. Against a paddle 4.
Yeah,
How good's that?
that's a right event.
Take us on World Championships. paddle.
£2,000 entry every player.
Love it, outstanding. Mate, I could talk to you all day. I think we've been probably an hour and a bit there. But it's brilliant. My last bit, just Brad Arthur. I'm really encouraged. I'm loving it. I'm looking forward to next season. You've had a bit of an insight now. It's been a long interview for him, hasn't it? He's decided to stay. Everybody's buzzing. How have you found your time with Brad?
Yeah, he's been great. He asked us what we needed from him, and we said accountability as a team, and he's brought that straight away. And I think he's liked how much we've all bought into what he's asked of us. Everyone's behind him, and things that you wouldn't think or realise you need in the game or strategy, team stuff that you'd sort of forget if you weren't talking about it all the time. He's instilled in us again. And then you'd be like, oh, how have we not been doing that for so long, sort of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So just nothing crazy, but just little things that we can add into our game. So something you could see straight off the bat, his line speed in defence, he's really worked on that. And with a click of a fingers almost, I think we were conceding the least amount of meters the back end of the year, just because of one thing he said. But because it wasn't said before, not because of any particular reason or somebody's strategies are a little bit different, you were never thinking about that. So obviously he's been at the top level for a long time. So I don't think we've seen half of what he's going to bring to us yet. So I'm really excited for next year. Just going back on Brian McDermott a little bit there. He's actually I've spoken to him quite a few times since he's gone, and recently when we were going through a tough time, I think we'd been to Catalan and we got beat maybe like 60 points to 4 or something, and he was the first person to give us a ring and just speak to us and say, you know, it's not your, just to almost put an arm around it, what they were over the phone, but sort of saying it's all right sort of thing. And I was like, wow, how good's that? You know, he still cares and he's still watching out for players he's coached before. And it was never personal, all this stuff. I don't hate him. I actually admire him, and I'd love, if it ever came across, you know, be able to work with him again sort of thing. But I loved my time with him and what he gave to me as a player and what I learned from him. I don't want it to come across as that I hate him or all like that, because I don't. He's great, and for him to call me in a time when we were probably down, really respected.
Amen. Love it. Stockholm syndrome. he knows what I'm on about. Ash, what's the first event? We're talking about next year. What's the first testimonial event that we can all get involved in?
Right, so I've got Roxy Ball Room Games Night. It's at the Light One in Leeds. It's £25 a ticket. It's just going to be the carousel, like I spoke about before, the carousel style leaderboard. You're going to get prizes for the winners. Included in your £25 ticket, you'll get 3 drinks. Nibbles will be going round, interacting with the players. The players can sign anything you want, and it's going to be a great night. So hopefully I can see a lot of the fans down there. It's on the 13th of November, which is a Wednesday.
Yes.
6 o'clock till 9:30. So you can have a couple of beers and go. But be great to see a lot of you down there.
It'd be good for students that Wednesday
That's
night.
it. Yeah.
Method behind the madness. I started off as a Leeds fan, fortunate to play, mate. I've occupied a multitude of roles. I'm just a fan right now, and I love this kid. I'm going to support him in his testimonial. I hope you do too. Ash Handley, thanks for joining me.
Cheers, mate.
Box
Thanks
2,
for having
mate.
me. Thank
Love
you.
it. Great team, mate. Thanks for joining us too. See you next time.